Welcome back to Planet Phobia. Today we'll be looking at another 5 interesting phobias. So I hope you're having a wonderful day and keeping those phobias at bay. Let's get into it. Tripophobia, the fear of holes. Name origin, trypta, Greek for hole. This is the fear of holes, and it's pretty common. Surprisingly, this fear is generally not for large holes, but tiny holes clustered together. Phobics cannot stand seeing images or objects with holes. Although not completely understood, it is believed that the brain of the phobic associates holes with some unknown danger. One interesting aversion is to the pores on our skin. We all have pores, and some are more noticeable than others. Just the idea of seeing all the small openings on someone's face is just too much for their minds to handle. Other items include types of food like fruit, vegetables, and honeycomb. Certain woods and sponges also trigger this fear. Even just talking about holes around a phobic is enough to put them in a panic. Some phobics fear physically falling into a hole and becoming trapped. Reactions vary but include feeling like your skin is crawling, shaking uncontrollably, and becoming nauseous and disgusted. This phobia is very prevalent, and many people research the causes and symptoms associated with it. Watching a bee sting in childhood and seeing the pores become visible with swelling may be one cause for this fear. Somewhere in our minds, the image of something pockmarked unlocks something evolutionary that tells us these objects are somehow off and not quite normal. Therefore, we associate them with danger. Often, holes can be associated with being ill, conjuring ideas of rashes and blisters that can be a symptom of chickenpox or measles. We've got to try to stay out of holes, especially the ones we dig. Phobics will take these words literally. Aerophobia, fear of flying. Name origin, aero, Greek for air or gas. If you're one of those people who hold on to the armrest with all your strength, eyes staring forward ready to bulge out of your head, sweat forming on your brow as you're strapped into the seat of an airplane, the turbines are roaring, you're thrown back into your seat, and you're filled with pure panic. Don't worry, you're not alone. Nearly 25% of all travelers have aerophobia, the fear of flying. Our lives can be busy, with technology and communication bringing the world closer together every day. Many of us find ourselves boarding an airplane for work and our livelihoods. However, people with this fear will avoid travel for business at all costs. Even when it comes to our personal lives, this phobia can rear its ugly head, not letting phobics travel to see family who live far away. This can cause many negative side effects in one's life. Physical symptoms include increased heart rate, vomiting, and upset stomach. Psychological symptoms can include becoming irritated, dizzy, disorientated, and uncontrollable thoughts of crashing and death. This fear can manifest for some as soon as they enter the airport, while others feel it waiting to take off. Some people will become irritated and lash out. Some will become uncontrollable while in extreme panic. Causes for this include fearing cramped spaces that you can't escape from. The fear of heights is very common and associated with aerophobia. Being forced to sit next to strangers for an expanded amount of time is a specific fear. Some phobics have a pre-existing medical condition and fear having the symptoms flare up, such as being affected by a cold, vertigo, having sinus issues, tinnitus, and deep vein thrombosis. Yet other reasons for this phobia include having a turbulent flight in the past, motion sickness, seeing images of crashes, or becoming a victim to a terrorist attack. This condition is also hereditary and can be passed down from parent to child. Misophobia, fear of germs. Name origin, musos, Greek for uncleanness. This is the fear of germs or being contaminated by germs and is also known as germophobia. People with this phobia typically have an obsessive-compulsive disorder, feeling the urge to repeatedly wash and clean. They have a hard time living in this world that they find to be filthy, with germs covering everything. Living with these obsessions take up countless hours in a phobic's day. Unnecessary spending on cleaning products is prevalent. The phobic's habits go far beyond just being tidy. It's not so much having things organized for them as it is removing germs from all surfaces. Microbes are microscopic germs that can cause disease. Phobics will obsess over these being in dirt, grime, and dust. They will fear being around anyone coughing or sneezing, fearing sickness which triggers their OCD, driving them to clean more, once again impacting their quality of life. Children with a parent or caregiver with OCD are perhaps more likely to become a misophobe. Learning about germs in school and witnessing a friend get sick or becoming sick yourself can be a cause for this phobia. Phobics are known to wash hands excessively, not use public restrooms, avoid social settings where they may run into sick people or animals, and refusing to share items like combs or food with anyone. As misophobia progresses, phobics may find themselves refusing to open doors, shake hands, and obsessively use hand sanitizer. These habits can impact all aspects of a phobic's life. Claustrophobia, fear of small spaces. Name origin claustrum, Latin for a closed-in place. This is a situational phobia and affects people who fear small or enclosed spaces. Phobics will do anything necessary to stay out of elevators, tunnels, mines, caves, and airplanes. Images of being stuck in these places manifest in the phobic's thoughts. This is a very common phobia and affects roughly 4% of the world's population. People with spatial distortion are likely to suffer this phobia, having a distorted sense of their own personal space. People who are prone to anxiety and panic attacks are also more proportionately affected. If you were locked in a closet or a chest as a child and couldn't get out, this could be a trigger for claustrophobia. Fearing small spaces may also be an evolutionary benefit. The main fear mentioned by phobics is the feeling of being buried alive. When these thoughts become overwhelming, phobics will have a hard time to catch their breath, may hyperventilate, and have an increased heart rate. Sweating, shaking, and feeling sick are other physical symptoms. Psychological symptoms include thoughts of dying a slow death, being buried alive. The sensation to run can be overwhelming, and your ability to distinguish between reality and fiction may become skewed. This phobia is so common and affects so many people, it is interesting to see what the causes and symptoms of this phobia are that instills so much fear in millions of people. Astrophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. Name origin, astrape, Greek for lightning. Living with weather, good or bad, is just part of the human experience. Man does not control the weather, and when it asks who is king, we must bend the knee. Some of us even enjoy bad weather, feeling curious energy every time the skies turn gray and the thunder begins to rumble. Take this to the extreme, and some people even enjoy storm chasing. But when the opposite happens, you have astrophobia, the fear of thunder and lightning. This phobia is very common in children, but in some cases will persist into adulthood. Sometimes, in bad weather, a phobic will claim to have suffered an electric shock. Rainstorms and flooding are also part of this condition, and people affected by it may have been negatively affected by such events. Like most phobias, if you are prone to anxiety and nervousness, or known as being high-strung, you are more likely to suffer from this. If you're unfortunate enough to suffer from this phobia, you may find yourself glued to the Weather Channel, constantly checking the forecast to see if bad weather is headed towards your location. Install lightning rods on all your buildings to deflect a direct hit from lightning. As a storm approaches, a phobic will show signs of great anxiety and show several physical and psychological symptoms, including increased heart rate, sweating, having a hard time breathing, crying, constantly trying to stormproof their house, nausea, thoughts of death, and even passing out. When this phobia is severe, some will also have agoraphobia, the fear of going outdoors, and will stay hidden away in their homes. This phobia affects so many of us, and with this fear there is no escaping it, as weather events are part of our lives, and we must find a way to deal with it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. If you like this video, check out this one for more interesting phobia facts.